You guys remember when Anker Solix came out with the F3800 and it was almost really cool, but there were a few just really important drawbacks? They've been busy. This is the F3800 Plus, and I do not recommend you lift it by yourself. All right, let's get right into what's different. The first biggest drawback that I saw with the F3800 was that you couldn't charge it with AC while also outputting AC at the same time. So this is the generator input adapter. This will let you charge it with 240 volts. Let's get a closer look at the generator input adapter. You'll see a nice warning on here. It says, do not use it with the F3800. It is only designed to work with the F3800 Plus. This end goes into the F3800 Plus. This end goes into your generator. I don't think that there's going to be a firmware update that allows it to work with the old F3800 because, again, there's a warning on the device itself. So I'm going to actually plug this into the old F3800. While it is charging from 240, it will disable those 120 volt outlets. So if we just turn this on to start that charging, there we go. The 240 outlet is still being powered, but the 120 outlet is turned off. And you'll see as soon as I stop powering that 240 charge, it turns all the other outlets back on. And to demonstrate it being charged via 120 and cutting off that 240 outlet, as soon as I plug this in via 120 to charge, that light is going to turn off because it will disable that plug right there. So let's go ahead and give that a demo. Ready, go. Boom. So that outlet is now disabled, but this RV outlet will still be active. So I would want to use that instead. If you know your situation and you know you're not going to be using more than 3,000 watts, 25 amps, then you can just get an adapter cable and plug everything in at the same time. So you can work with your own situation if you need to. So now you can see I've got this whole string of adapter cables all plugged into my transfer switch over there. And we've got that outlet being powered while we've also got it being charged via 120. So you can make it work for your situation if you need to. Just understand your power consumption and what you're going to be using to actually charge your device. I prefer to use solar panels, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So you can charge from 120 while powering 120, and you can charge from 240 while powering 240. And as a side note, the only time it cannot be charged via AC simultaneously is when it is in EV charging mode. And that's when you tap the power button twice, a little car appears on the screen, so you can charge an electric car without any additional attachments or anything. So if you're charging an EV in EV charging mode, you cannot also recharge it with AC at the same time. And the second big thing that I'm really excited they fixed is the solar input. On the old Anker F3800, our max input was 60 volts, and that was really difficult for a lot of people to use their existing solar setup or to max out the solar, because getting 2,400 watts of solar in 60 volts is not easy. It's not a lot. The F3800 Plus addresses this and allows us a maximum of 165 volts of solar input. So that's a lot easier to use whatever existing solar panel setup you have. And I have the expansion battery from the old F3800, and that is compatible with the new F3800 Plus. So if you bought a whole bunch of expansion batteries for the F3800 and you're looking to upgrade, you don't have to buy a whole bunch of new expansion batteries. Also, they upgraded from XT60 onto these new kinds of adapters. The F3800 Plus comes with 2 of them, so you don't need to go buy a whole bunch of new cables. They terminate from MC4 into this new kind of adapter. I believe it's because there's higher voltage, they can go through them, so they needed to upgrade the connector. And because of those upgrades, each solar panel input, you can get a maximum of 1,600 watts, or a total of 3,200 watts. Firmware updates are really easy. It's on the app. You just run into the settings here, and there's a firmware upgrade option at the bottom. You just click on that, and it will tell you what firmware you're on, and if it needs an upgrade. It'll also tell you the firmware of the expansion battery. If you need an upgrade, you just hit a button, and it takes a few minutes, and then it's upgraded. I do recommend you connect it to Wi-Fi if you have the option, because being able to remotely monitor your power consumption and your solar generation and being able to turn on and off the AC power is a really handy feature if you have a home that you need to control the power on, or you want to control the power on. These batteries last for 10 years, and with the way they rate it is if you completely charged it and completely depleted it every single day, it would still last for 10 years and retain 80% of its full charge. And so instead of being like a 3.8 kilowatt hour battery, it would be a 3 kilowatt hour battery. But it would still function and you could still charge it and still use it. It wouldn't just die. These batteries are extremely resilient and extremely safe. They don't just explode when they deteriorate or puff up. That's not what this battery chemistry does. And I've actually used the old F3800 that had all those limitations where you couldn't charge it with AC while delivering AC power at the same time, and the solar input was a lot lower. I've used it for a whole year and it has been fantastic. I haven't noticed any degradation in capacity or power output. We have some different plugs as well. We used to have the NEMA 1450 connector, but we have replaced it for the RV plug in the new F3800 Plus. But if you did rely on that NEMA 1450 connector, you can always just grab an adapter cable like I've got sitting over there. It's not that big of a deal, but just be aware that the plugs are a little different. You can actually connect both of these together with the home power panel or with the dual power hub or whatever they call it. So you can get that 12 kilowatts of output from both of these combined. They are compatible with each other. Now, I don't have the home power panel, so I can't give you a review on it. I don't know how it works, but I've heard good things about it. And if you're going to go with the whole Anker Solix system for your house backup, I would recommend you get the home power panel because it is the most seamless way to integrate it with your house. What I did, and there's actually a video on my channel about it, is I hired an electrician and I installed a manual transfer switch in my house. That means I can turn circuits on and off, particularly the ones that I want to power when I do have an outage. Because I have rooftop solar, I've got like 24 big solar panels on my roof, but I have a grid tied system. What that means is when the grid goes down, my house doesn't have any power. So I installed that transfer switch so I could use these guys and just plug it into my house and then pick which circuits I want to power. So in the case of an outage, I've got 1100 watts of solar in my backyard and I wire them in series. Now this is actually why I'm excited about the voltage increase on the F3800 Plus, is I've got two panels back in my backyard, which are 48 volt panels. And when I wire them in series, that's about 100 volts. The old F3800 couldn't handle that input. Now I have a long cable run from my backyard to my garage where the F3800 was sitting. And wiring those in parallel means that it's less volts, more amps. Lower voltage with higher amps gets hotter and needs a thicker cable to travel that distance, and you'll also drop more voltage across longer distance. And I was not getting the full input from my solar panels. But when I switched from parallel wiring to series wiring, I was able to get more input with the F3800 Plus. So this is charging with the panels in series wiring to get that higher voltage. We're at about 90 volts. Now I'm going to switch it over to parallel wiring and we're going to be at 48 volts. Boom. Look at that. All I did was change how it's wired and now we're only getting 623 watts. That is a huge difference. And we're back to series wiring and back to 830 watts. So if you're just setting up your solar setup, having higher voltage input is very important for a system like this. They've also got a 5-year warranty. So if anything happens to it in that time, you can just exchange it or get it replaced or fixed. In fact, I had a warranty claim issue with an Anker product recently, the C1000, and they replaced it within 2 days of me sending the email from my computer. I had the new unit on my desk. So the warranty and customer support is awesome. I'm pretty sure these are like 130 pounds each. It does have a handy little handle here in case you do decide to deadlift your battery. I do not think that I'd be able to lift it without the handle, so I do appreciate the attention to detail. There's the 240 volts and our transfer switch. Let's power this house. All right, what are we doing here? So now that we're running on the F3800, the app will tell me my usage. And I've got this handy remote here that will let me blast my lights. And we'll see that spike. And we're up to 1700 watts so far. Now, I can't get the whole 6 kilowatts from the circuit in my studio. It's only on a 20 amp circuit. So I need to run around my house and plug a bunch of things in to show you it at 6 kilowatts. So let's go. Maybe we want to boil some water. There we go, we're up to 3,200 watts. We'll charge another power station in another room. Maybe we'll turn on a shop vac. I was just running around doing all these tests and I almost missed this gorgeous sunset. Anyways, here is the solar panels that I use. So that's two big panels that I just have on these brackets, but I have them wired in series. Those are the cables there, and then they connect down to this one cable that goes this long route all the way through my garage, through that, and then it connects all the way over to that kind of corner in my garage right there. Here's also a little update on our garden situation. We got a bunch of potatoes growing in that one, and then we got some potatoes, and then some potatoes, and then I think we're gonna put potatoes in here. It just kind of happened that way because we had potatoes in our compost, and then we mixed it up with our soil, and then just a whole bunch of potatoes started growing, so we get potatoes. All right, I've got the microwave and the oven and all the kitchen plugs on different circuits, so I think we can just cook those up and see what we can get this voltage up to. All right, boom, and 2,500 watts. Let's go ahead and turn that oven on. Let's do bake at 400 degrees. Look at that, we're at 4,600 watts. Let's go back to the kettle. This should push it. Over 6 kilowatts. If that doesn't impress you, I don't know what does. It did cut my power though, because I was over 6 kilowatts, and as we saw in the past, if you go past 6 kilowatts without that dual voltage hub, then you will kill your power. But all you gotta do, let's get the light on here. There we got our notification. It's been deactivated. We just gotta turn it back on. Boom, we've got power again. All in all, I'm extremely pleased with the upgrades to the F3800 Plus. If you want to pick one up yourself, there's a link to where you can find it in the description of this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.